this is Joanna and welcome back to another video for the TheAlleyWayStamps. And today I'm using two stamp sets. I'm using Once Upon a Time and I'm also using Rock Solid. And I'm just starting out with a piece of Nina Solar White, and then I'm starting out by stamping the castle. And as you can see, the acrylic block is a little bit too small, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to stamp the top part anyway. I'm going to create my own sentiment with a banner. I will show you how I do that later. But I'm just using my Memento ink to ink up my stamp, because I'm going to do a lot of copic coloring on this card, so that's why I'm using Memento. I think that's a perfect ink. It doesn't smear at all with Copics. And here I'm just removing the ink on the lower part of the castle, because if I do that, I think it's easier to integrate the castle with the background that I'm creating. If the lower part, if I remove that line, so it's not so harsh. So here I'm just stamping the castle, and this is a really big image, so I'm trying to press down really good so I get a good impression. And now it's time to create my sentiment. And one of the things that I love about clear stamps is that you can shape them in any way that you like. Not in any way, but you can shape them just a little bit. So here I'm just bending it a little bit and I'm attaching it to my acrylic block so I can create a banner shape. And I'm stamping my sentiment with Memento ink as well, because I'm going to do some copy coloring on top of it when I'm done. And I'm using a pencil to create my banner, so I'm just tracing around my sentiment to create a banner shape. And if you're doing something like this, remember that it's easier to stamp the sentiment first and then trace around it with your pencil. And to draw in my pencil marks, I'm using a Copic multiliner, and this is really good when you are doing Copics because it's like Memento. It's not going to smear. And this is the 0.03 tip. And just to make sure that the ink doesn't smear, I'm using my heat gun to dry the ink, and then I remove the pencil line with an eraser. And now it's time for the fun part, to color everything in. And I have sped up the coloring portion of the video quite a bit, so hopefully you won't get bored. And I have also challenged myself to create my own background using Copic markers. There are a lot of artists out there that create amazing backgrounds, and this is a really easy way to create a background. This is nothing fancy at all, so I think that everybody can do this. And it's not perfect by any means, but I still kind of like the result anyway, so I hope that you do too. But I will leave you with my coloring and I will pick up the voiceover afterwards. I use this large die from Simon Says Stamp that creates a stitched line. So I just place it there and I hold it in place with a post-it tape and I bring it over to my die-cut machine. And then I just adhere it to a piece of black cardstock and I just cut a piece that it's so it will have a thin border around, and I use my ATG to adhere them together. And the card base that I use is Nina Solar White, so the same that I colored on, and the size is a standard size. So it's an A2 card, and I just used my ATG again to adhere everything together. And if you are interested in any of the supplies that I used, there is a link to my blog post in the YouTube description, so you can just head over there and you can find everything. And here I'm deciding that the banner is a little bit too dull, because I'm going to send this card to a little girl, and I thought that it needed some pink on it at least. So I'm changing the color of the banner, and this is really easy because the warm gray shadows were so light, so I can color over them, and I just used different shades of pink to do that, and I think that the sentiment stands out a little bit more. And then the card is done. So thank you guys so much for spending some time with me, and I see you guys next Thursday. Take care. Bye.